let's take it from a 7 to an 8. Now, if you're brand new at spinning, this is something brand new to you, I'd back it down to a 5 right now and go into recovery. For the rest of you, rule number 1, don't get dead in the spinning class. Rule number 2, we don't have helmets, so don't fall off your bike. Okay? Then we go seated, same cadence, going hard. Now after this, I have a choice. I can either take them back down the same way we went up. Go from an 8 to a 7 to a 6 to a 5, or depending on what the group is doing, if they're dying, if they're already gassed, they're just completely dead, then I'll say, okay, everybody, let's sit it back down, and let's take that resistance to a 5. And then after about 30 seconds at a 5, I'll say, let's take it down to, let's take that resistance off, and let's hydrate. So everybody hydrates. Okay? So they hydrate. Then I'll tell them, really good job, you guys. Everybody getting warm? That was a good warm-up, wasn't it? And everybody goes, what, that's a warm-up? You gotta be kidding me. Okay? So, a couple variations of that uphill. Okay? I really like hand position 3, especially on my forearms, and here's the reason why. It helps me hit the glutes with the people that I'm working with. So let me go, for example, from seated. I'm leaning forward on these handlebars, and what I tell them to do is heels down. I want your heels down, and I want you to focus really hard on pulling up on the pedal stroke. Okay? Scoot that bum back in the seat. Okay? When we go standing from hand position 3, it's just an inch up off the seat. The tendency for people in hand position 3 is to lean it way forward. Okay? Kind of like how you see people on the Stairmasters, they lean on the railings so that there's only maybe 25% of their body weight that is actually on the steps. We don't want that on the bikes. We want their butt back over top of the seat, about an inch off the seat, and they're pulling up on those pedal strokes. That helps work those hamstrings, helps activate those glutes. Okay? Now, you can do the same uphill in this modality. It would be really, really hard to do the whole hill like this, up and down in hand position 3. Hand position 3 is more intense. It's the most intense. Okay? So quite oftentimes, I'll mix it up. I'll say, okay, let's take it to the bottom of the hill. Let's go standing. Hand position 1, we'll take it to a 5. That sets my baseline. Okay? Easy on the bouncing, you guys. Circular pedal stroke. We want it light on those handlebars. Okay? Let's go seated, and I take them for a minute seated. And then I say, okay, you guys, let's go hand position 3, standing. Hand position 3, standing. Pulling up on those pedals. Heels down. Get an inch over top of the seat. Scoot your bum back. And I tell them, these buns of steel that we're going for. So when we go to those football games and we sit down in those metal seats, people can hear us say, chink, chink. And then I say, okay, go seated for a minute. Same cadence with me. When people go seated, they always want to lighten up on the cadence, the revolutions per minute. Don't want them to stop the revolutions per minute. It's better to have them lighten the resistance if they need to. Okay? And you can go all the way up on that. So basically, I'm mixing it up. I'm going standing, sitting on hand position 1. Hand position 3, standing, sitting, hand position 3. Okay? And same thing, I can back them down linearly, go all the way up to an 8, and then go from an 8 to a 7 to a 6 to a 5. Or if they're completely gassed, I can just go straight to recovery. Usually, I go to hand position 5, or sorry, a resistance of 5 seated for about 30 seconds before I have them take all the resistance off and hydrate. Okay? Now, during the recovery time is when you tell them how funny you are. Remember, personal trainers are intimidating. We want people to feel comfortable, okay? So, and I'll relate with them. I say, oh, you guys, I don't know about you. That was tough for me. And quite oftentimes I'll wear a gray t-shirt when I'm teaching a class, and people can see I'm just, drenched in sweat, okay? And I'll tell them, I'll say, yeah, there was somebody the other day that was telling me that I need to wear a darker shirt so that the sweat doesn't show up so much because it's disgusting. I'm sweating all over this bike and everything. And I said, that reminds me of a pirate joke. You guys want to hear my pirate joke? And I tell them about this pirate captain who every time he was about to go into battle, the lookout would come down and say, Captain, there's, 2 ships on the horizon. He says, go get me my red shirt. Captain, there's 3 ships on the horizon. Go get me my red shirt. And every time there's a battle, Captain always fought with the rest of the pirates. And finally the lookout said, why do you always ask for your red shirt when there's a battle? He says, well, because if I ever get cut or wounded in battle, the blood will match my red shirt and nobody will know that I'm injured. And so everybody will still be motivated to fight. And so he says, the next day the guy says, Captain, 50 ships on the horizon. He says to him, okay, go get me my brown shorts. So I tell people, so I said, so somebody told me I needed to get like a darker shirt so they can't tell that I'm sweating so hard. And, people laugh at that. You can tell some cheesy jokes to get them laughing. I got a whole bunch of pirate jokes that I tell and things like that while they're recovering. The other thing that you can do with them is talk to them about exercise science. I'll tell them why it's important for us to go intense at an RPE of 8 or even of 9 to activate those fast twitch muscle fibers, to get the nervous system to contract all those motor units together so that they're all firing, okay? Because we don't always activate those, and then I'll tell them about muscle fiber type transition as we get older and how it's important for us to go intense every once in a while. And so or weight loss. I'll talk about weight loss in the class when they're recovering. But I always make sure it's happy, it's light, and I always praise everybody for everything that they do, okay? I never ever point out or single out anybody specifically for a critique. I always tell the whole class, okay? When there's praise due, I try and single people out and say, hey, look at so-and-so, they're doing so well, or look at this person, or I'll praise the whole class. Now, a couple other different modalities for the workout that I like to do, okay? We have downhill, where I'll have everybody go baseline. Baseline is taking it to a 5 standing in hand position 1. Now, I tell everybody, when we're going downhill, it's extremely important for us to get the true adaptation from this workout, and the results from this workout is we want light on the handlebars. Do not lean on the handlebars. Whatever you do, keep the weight in the legs. And now what I want you to do is I want you to back down that resistance from a 5 to a 4. So it's getting easy, it's getting lighter to pedal. There's not as much resistance there. You find that it burns your legs just a little bit. It's harder to stay up standing. Keep light on that handlebar. We do that for about a minute or however long you want to. Oftentimes for me, I'll do a modality that will be in the range of 1 to 2 minutes. Okay? And then I'll say, okay, I'll give them a 30-second heads up. In 30 seconds, we're going to do what I call kamikaze. We're going to go seated,